Hi, everybody. My name is Eden, and I am the International Enrollment Specialist here at the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. So thank you very much for joining me today. I know it's about the afternoon in Turkey. It's morning here for us in Edmonton, and I'm really excited to share with you a little bit more about my institution and just something about Canada in general as well. So just to start off, here is the agenda for today. I'll first be talking about the province of Alberta, which is the province where our school is located in, and then the city of Edmonton, NATE and its programs, and then we have an application event promotion. So I always like to start off about the location and where we're located, a little bit more about the city as well, because it's important as you're looking for a school to also understand where you'll be living in. So while it's important to choose the best school that is the right fit for you, it's also important that you understand a little bit more about this future house that you'll be living in this city. So hopefully today will be informative for you, and that it will be interactive at the end of this, session. And if you have questions, I will also be answering them at the end. I'll just go through my presentation, and feel free to put stuff in the chat box, but I'll look at them at the end, okay? So first off, here is a general map of the world and the travel times to where we're located in Edmonton. From Istanbul, it's probably about 14 hours just flight. So it sounds quite long. There actually will be layovers as well. I know most people, when they're flying through Edmonton, to Edmonton, they will stop maybe through Toronto or Montreal. So from Montreal or Toronto, you're probably about 3 to 4 hours flight away. We're actually closer to the east side of Canada. So as you can see on the slide, Vancouver is on this side, British Columbia. Edmonton is in Alberta, which is about 1 hour flight away. And Toronto, Ontario is over on this side, and Quebec and Montreal is on this side. If you're flying from there, it's usually about 4 hours. So generally speaking, the layovers will be in those areas, and then you come to Edmonton through there, okay? So just a few fun facts about Alberta. Actually, I think most people hear a lot about Ontario or British Columbia, maybe even Quebec, but not as many people hear things about Alberta. And there's just some fun things that you might want to be interested in knowing. And the first thing is that we actually are on the third largest oil reserve in the world. So out of all the countries and all the areas in the world, we have a lot of oil. Alberta is sitting on that. And so because of that, Alberta is actually one of the richer provinces in Canada. And up till 2018, which is a couple of years ago, we were actually leading Canada in GDP and all these things because we were doing really well economically. And I can even show you here, there is a comparison of all the provincial taxes by provinces. So in comparison to all the other provinces in Canada, if you live in Alberta, you actually get taxed a lot less than everywhere else. So everybody pays to the federal government of Canada, a general tax that is around the same amount. And then if you were to live in Alberta itself, you actually pay less than, say, if you lived in Newfoundland or Labrador. So for a family of four with a two-income, like both parents working, and say you earn $100,000, in Alberta, you only need to pay additional $5,178 for provincial taxes. But if you were to live in Newfoundland and Labrador, you pay an additional $7,000 just from living there. So it does make a huge difference because it takes away from your income that you get to bring home, right? So just in itself, Alberta can be a very good place to live in terms of just lower taxes. And as I said previously too, Alberta actually was growing a lot in GDP and employment, and we were booming all the way up till 2018. We had a really high population growth, even in comparison to Canada. A lot of the reason for that, as I mentioned, is because of the oil and gas industry. Recently, the past 2 years, we've had some issues with getting the oil out into other provinces and out into the world. So that stunted our growth a little bit. But obviously that will have to change at some point again soon. And so as that happens again, I think our economy will start flowing and going back up again. And some people are worried, if we have so much dependency on oil and gas. I have a slide here that shows our GDP distribution in 2017. So while you can see oil and gas is one of the largest, we have 16% of our GDP is distributed into oil. But we also have a lot of other industries in Alberta. So as you are looking into different areas that you are interested in, different industries, or maybe you already have your eye on something, it's good to know that we are actually quite a diversified economy. The reason for that is the government wants to just kind of not be solely reliant on oil and gas. So we do know that it's important that we diversify our economy. And so over the past 10 years, they have been actively trying to promote other industries. I know, and I often hear this on our radio as well, that especially in terms of IT, the Alberta government has been putting a lot of money into that industry because they know that, that is pretty much the up and coming industry. And so that is actually one of the booming ones as well in Alberta. Another nice thing about Alberta, we actually have one of the highest minimum wages in Canada. So out of all the provinces, as an international student, you can actually work off campus for up to 20 hours a week if you are in a credit program. If you're an ESL student, you work on campus, but you are able to work, generally speaking, if you're a full-time student. So as a part-time worker in Canada, regardless of where you work, if you are in the province of Alberta, your minimum wage will be $15 per hour. That's approximately 91 Turkish lira per hour. So say you come and study here, you decide I'm going to go work at Starbucks. That's the minimum that you will get per hour. And so it does really add up, and you do earn just quite a good amount of money to help supplement the rest of your costs of living in Alberta, in Edmonton. And so if you were to live in a different province, for example, say you were to live in British Columbia, the amount that you earn actually would be a little bit less than that. So every province has their own wage, minimum wage, and Alberta is one of the highest. So you can also look here into this Government of Alberta website, and it actually lists off the different industries and the different kind of minimum wage that you'll be earning in each of the jobs. So again, it'll be helpful for you to kind of get an idea if you were to go into construction, for example. The wage that you'll be earning, that's approximately how much you can get in Edmonton. So it's a really nice way for you to do some research in the industry that you're interested in, even prior coming to Canada and coming to NAIT. As you're researching where is a good place for you to go to, I'm assuming you're also thinking of work prospects at the end. And so again, this is just a good place to do some research. I actually realized that I forgot to mention one other thing about Alberta. We also do have actually no provincial taxes in terms of sales tax. So previously, I talked about our income taxes, which everybody has to pay. But when it comes to sales tax, which is when you're buying, say, a book at a bookstore, in Alberta, you only need to pay the provincial tax of 5%. You don't have additional provincial taxes. Whereas in every other province in Canada, you have provincial taxes. So say if you were to buy the book in Edmonton, it would be $105 that you're paying. But if you were to buy the exact same book in Vancouver, you're actually paying $113. So you pay additional $8 more. So every province has an additional tax. And so some people actually even like coming to Alberta to shop because it's a little bit cheaper to buy the exact same thing. So just gives you an idea that actually living in Alberta does have a little bit lower cost of living than some of the other places. Because as you can see, you get taxed less in terms of your sales tax. Everything adds up when it comes to sales tax, right? It's included in everything that you're buying when you live here. And then your income tax is lower, but your living wages will be higher. And last thing, there's another really nice thing about living in Alberta too, is that our health insurance. So again, every province has their own health insurance policies. But in Alberta, what we have is for anybody who lives, basically we call them people who resides in Alberta, you get free healthcare. So if you're an international student, you qualify for free healthcare. If you are a graduate, after you graduate and you're working in Alberta, you also qualify for free healthcare. If you come with your spouse, your partner gets free healthcare. If you're coming here with your kids also get free healthcare. So what does this actually mean when we say that? Free healthcare for us in Alberta means that if you were to go to see a doctor, you're basically covered. You don't have to pay anything when you see a doctor. If the doctor prescribes you medication after, then you will need to pay for medication. But that medication fees are usually, there will be another insurance that will cover that, and that is covered in your school fees. So when you say come to NATE, you will pay for your tuition fees, but you will also have, you get to opt into a program that will help you with your health insurance for additional things, such as medication, eye care, dental, and stuff like that. So you get covered probably about 80%, and you don't pay that much more. So you'll be quite fully covered. I actually had students who, had an accident. They, broke their leg and they had to go to the hospital. Their x-rays were covered. Their stay in the hospital was covered. Again, only medication was not, which was then covered by the school. So you can feel very secure coming to study here. And lastly, I also know that students, if they were to come with their family, I'm not sure how many of you are thinking of coming with family. If you have kids, your kids actually get to study for free in a public school system. So if you're studying at NATE, for example, it doesn't really matter where you're studying, as long as you have a study permit and you're a student and you bring your kids with you, your kids get to study for free in our education system here as well. So that's another really nice perk about just the province itself, okay? So now moving on quickly into Edmonton, which is the city that we're located. We are the capital city of Alberta. So you might have heard of some other cities in Alberta, such as Calgary, Red Deer, Lethbridge. Edmonton is the capital city, okay? We are known as well to be Canada's festival city. We have more festivals every year than any other city in Canada. In the wintertime, we continue to host festivals. It's important for us to have things like this. It makes us connected to each other in the city. And also during the wintertime, it's also really helpful for us because it gets us out and moving. Obviously, right now, because of COVID, we can't go and have festivals like this and have mass people gatherings. And so we have to do a lot of these things online. But eventually, we're hoping that things can go back to the way it was. And so we'll be able to continue to do stuff outside too. But right now, what we've been doing is we've been having drive-through festivals. So things are up going, and then you just kind of drive through it to like see the winter lights, and you see different things like Christmas lights and stuff like that. So there are other ways that we've been trying to go around this. Edmonton is also known to be a business and political hub. There is a strong value of entrepreneurship. So as I mentioned before, the government of Alberta has been really putting a lot of different funding into diversifying our economy. So IT, for example, and startups, we actually have had a lot of government support in terms of financial support to encourage people to start their own businesses. So there's been a lot of startup companies in IT in Edmonton. We're also a high-tech hub. We are, excuse me, home of the National Institute for Nanotechnology and the National Research Council of Canada. So that's just another hub that we have here in Edmonton as well. The population in Edmonton is currently at 1.3, so it's not a very large city. If you think about the comparison of here to Istanbul, I believe it's a lot smaller, but we are projected to grow by 65,000 per year for the next 15 years. We've been hitting that mark every year. So there are actually quite a lot of people moving into Edmonton. And so you can see here the average age right now is at 35. So it does show you that people who live in Edmonton are younger, because actually there's a lot of younger families moving into Edmonton. Reason for that, again, is because there's just a lot more opportunities here compared to some of the other places in Canada. People are finding that if, they move to Edmonton, there are just more job opportunities. While, usually the big cities are very alluring, but you might also know that when you go to big cities, there's just a lot more competition. And so if everybody goes there, everything costs more, because your rent is going to cost more, your food is going to cost more, but then job availability is going to be a lot less because everybody's competing. And chances are when you go to big cities, you actually don't live right in the middle of the city, right? You're probably living about an hour away and then commuting. Whereas in Edmonton, we're not at that place yet, but we are still, like I said, a capital city. So it's still a city and there's still quite a lot of people. But it is one of those that is like, there's a lot of opportunity to grow, and people do see it as this is a really good place to develop. And so I've been living here for at least 18, 19 years, and I love this place. It grows on you. I find that the people here are very genuine, very, very nice people, very friendly. It doesn't have the big city feel where people are out to, get you. But at the same time, it's also not a small town where you just have one street for the city. It is quite a big space as well. So that's, I guess, like this is our parliament, legislature, and then it's right in the middle of our downtown, which is also very populated. If you look at this picture here, this is actually taken from our downtown. Edmonton is a very beautiful place. Like we have a river that flows right through the city. It's called the River Valley. And there are all these trees and parks that are actually just kind of around the River Valley. It's one of our biggest assets in Edmonton. So if you're downtown, you can actually walk straight here to the River Valley in just a couple of minutes. And then you feel like you are in a nature walk. So if you do like nature, you like natural things, Edmonton could be a really great place for you. But at the same time, it's also very convenient because you're actually very close to this downtown as well. I would say I live in the east side of town, and downtown is in the middle. And for me to get from downtown to my place, it's only about 15 minutes drive. So it's actually very easy to get around. Traffic is not terrible here. In terms of our seasons, we do have 4 distinct seasons. We're not always in the winter time. Some people might be scared. They think, coming to Edmonton, you're going to be really cold, but it's actually not so bad. Our average winter temperature is -10. And again, that sounds really scary for some people, but there is a difference between a wet cold and a dry cold. And what we have here is a dry cold. So an average of -10, actually, right now, we're not at -10. We're in December, and currently, I believe it's at about 2 to 3 degrees in Edmonton. And this past week has been fluctuating around 5, 6, 7, 2. So it's been quite nice, actually. And then if you're at a -10, you might think that it gets cold. What you have to do is just to bundle up. So in a dry cold, a place with dry cold, as long as you wear a lot of layers, you'll be fine. And also a lot of our things are heated. We have pedways that connects from buildings to buildings. We have all our bus systems and our public transit. It's all heated. So you're going to be warm as long as you stay inside and not stand outside for too long. And if you do stand outside, make sure you dress up for it and you'll be okay. As I mentioned, we do have the largest urban park in North America. It is 10 times the size of Central Park in Manhattan. So it's a very nice and beautiful scenic place as well. Another really nice thing about Edmonton is our living costs. So as I mentioned before, if you were to live in a big city, you probably pay a lot more in living cost. But in Edmonton, you actually pay a lot less for a place that is actually a city, right? And so the rent here for one person is approximately 600 Canadian. And what you can get with 600 Canadian is probably a bachelor suite. So you get your own space, your own apartment, not a 1-bedroom. If you're thinking of a 1-bedroom, it will probably be $1,000. But with a 1-bedroom, some students like to share it with 2 people. So then you can split that and it becomes $500. Some people like to share, like they live in one room in a house, so they rent just that one room, and that can be even cheaper. Okay, so then the food here, you have about 300 and others in 200. On the other side, we have the living cost for usually about 2 people. So you're looking at approximately 1,100 for one person, and then 1,700 for 2 people. Obviously, if you're a family, then it will cost a little bit more. We have also put here on the side a calculation of your potential part-time earnings. So I mentioned previously, as an international student, you get to work up to 20 hours a week off campus. That is for a degree, diploma, certificate student, not if you're an ESL. That's a little bit different for you. So if you are one of those students, you can work off campus. And if you are on campus, you can work unlimited hours. Obviously, I don't recommend that students work unlimited hours and work that much on campus either, because you're here to study, right? But here you can see approximately, you'll be working for about 30 weeks a year at about 20 hours. But then you also have scheduled breaks. So scheduled breaks are times between your semesters. So say you have your fall semester that goes from September to December, and then you have your winter semester that goes from January to April. So between April till August, you have 4 months. That 4 months, you can work full time, and that's unlimited hours. So that will also, again, help you when you're hoping to, earn some money to help supplement your living cost. If you're an ESL student, you can only work on campus. But like I mentioned, if you work on campus, there's going to be unlimited hours that you can work. So you can work in the library, and then you can go work in food services, and that's up to you. Again, the minimum wage on campus too is also $15 per hour. So it can be quite nice, and again, supplements your living cost. So students might ask me, so are there a lot of, a lot of jobs available on campus for me? What's out there, right? So there are actually jobs on campus. Obviously, things during COVID is a little bit different. We've not been going back to campus right now unless there are labs. And so there'll be more limited jobs. But pre-COVID, we have had a lot of jobs available. International students, though, especially like the ESL ones, are the ones that are always looking for stuff on campus. So also understand, while there is, you will have also a bit more competition with other people who are also looking for jobs only on campus. So just to keep that in mind. One more thing to mention, say if you are already in Turkey and you are already working somewhere, say as an accountant, for example, and you come to Canada, you start school again, you can actually look for a part-time job doing bookkeeping, for example, as opposed to working at Starbucks while you are working. So you don't actually need to, there are part-time jobs, there are professional part-time jobs as well. So while you're looking, you don't actually will only be earning $15 per hour. If it's a professional job, you can actually earn more. So that's something to think about when you're looking for a job in Canada. You're not limited to only frontline work. You can actually look for something that is closer to your profession, or something that will help you when you graduate, give you a little bit more of a boost, right? So when you're looking for a job, it's easier when you graduate. So here we again mapped out what it could possibly look like for you as you progress through the years. So at NATE, most of our programs are 2-year programs. And I'll explain more about that later. So generally for a 2-year program, you have 4 semesters. Like I said, September to December, January, April, again. And then so you have your winter break here, you have your summer break here, and another winter break here. So we kind of gave you a little breakdown for per semester, you estimate. So you're estimating at about $9,500 for tuition. And again, I'll talk more about tuition later. Your living costs, about this much. And then your part-time work will also help to supplement some of your living costs. So just to give you an idea. However, prior to coming to Canada, you do need to show that you have funds for 1 year of studying and living. So this is actually your tuition for 1 year plus about $10,000. So even before you come to Canada, you do need to show that you have the money to last your first year. I like to just kind of prep students a little bit, because oftentimes they come thinking, yes, I can work, and yes, you can. But the thing is, sometimes there might be limitations in perhaps something happened, and you are physically unable to work, or there might be something else that happened that causes issues for you to be able to not be able to find a job for a little bit. So then if you're, in a financial distress for your first year, that can be very difficult for you as you're learning to adapt to Canadian culture and to study. Because again, if your focus is to study and then you're stressed out about finances, you're not going to do too well. So I always recommend that students have enough money to last them for their first year. And then obviously, while you're in your first year, you're able to find a job, then that's great. Then that can, again, help you in your second year. So just kind of think of it like that, as opposed to a lot of students show up and then they're like, I need a job right away because I need to pay for my tuition. That's probably not a good thing. So you need to plan ahead and make sure that you have enough funds, at least for your first year, okay? So I'm moving on into education now, since we've talked a lot about all the other things other than school. So just very briefly, here is a map of the Canada higher education system. So generally speaking, a lot of students finish high school and then they move on into post-secondary. So when we say post-secondary, you can go into either university or college, polytechnics. You might hear of all these different institutions in Canada. People will ask, well, what's the difference? Why one over another? One major difference is the way that we teach. So first of all, with universities, usually the way that is being taught is very much theoretical research. So you're going to be sitting in a huge lecture hall. You're going to have maybe 400 people in your classroom. You have your lecturer talking to you about, I don't know, whatever that you're studying, right? So they'll just give you a lecture. After that, you'll probably go to a library, do a lot of research and write papers, and that's mostly theory. Whereas in a polytechnic, the way we teach is more what we call applied research. So it's going to be very much real life industry, I guess, problems. And then you try to solve these through solutions that you figure out in class. So your time is going to be spent a lot, mostly in labs. You're going to be doing a lot of hands-on learning. What I would like to stress here is that the level of education is the same. The quality is the same. So if you graduate from a polytechnic with a degree, and you graduate from a degree from a university, you're going to get a job just the same. So after you finish your 4 years, you can both get a job. You can both qualify for a master's. So it's important to stress that. It does not mean that your level of education is any lower, okay? Actually, on the flip side of things, I would like to even argue that sometimes employers, they actually value students who graduated from polytechnics even more sometimes, because they know that they're very much more trained for the workforce. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later too. So polytechnics also have the opportunity to finish in 2 years. And usually with 2 years, you will be getting what we call a diploma. And if you do finish your 2 years, you can finish with your 2 years diploma and then do 2 more years and get a degree if you would like. And that's also a possibility as well. And then so here is what we call polytechnic education. And this is what makes up NATE's education. So generally speaking, you're going to have a lot more technology-based education. Most of what you'll be studying will be using technology. So you'll be learning through that. There is a lot of industry partnerships. And industry partnerships basically means that the people who will be hiring you, the companies that will be doing the hiring, they actually will be informing us at the school of what the curriculum should be. So for example, we have computer engineering technology as a program at NATE. So the people who will be hiring our students, so these companies that hire computer engineering technologists, IT programs, IT companies, for example, every year they will send representatives to our school, and we have what we call a program advisory committee. So this committee meets every year, and these people from industry, they will then say, okay, well, upcoming in the IT industry, you know, like we are looking to like use these kind of technology that is the latest technology. We want to make sure your students know how to use it when they graduate, because when they start working in our companies, we don't want to spend time teaching them because they should already know it. So then we will then teach our students that. Sometimes these industry people might even like donate some machines for us to use, so our students will be able to learn that. They might also even say, well, you know, next year we have actually a lot of baby boomers are retiring, and so we actually have more need for even more workers. So then at NATE, we will then enlarge our classroom numbers according to their need. If they say, well, we need another 30 people, then we will enlarge our numbers. If they don't, they say, actually, the numbers have been dwindling, then we actually tighten our class sizes too. So hence, actually, the class sizes are dependent very much on industry demands, which is really helpful for you to know, because that means that when you graduate, you will be high in demand. You're not going to be competing with 400 people because that's not the class size, right? And we're not going to graduate a lot more than that is needed in the industry because they're not going to find a job. So the mandate behind a lot of education is that we want to prepare you for the workforce. It is very much for the workforce. We're not learning just for learning's sake. We are learning so then you'll be ready and equipped to start working. So the programs will be shorter. They will be 2 years because we want to prep you and get you into the workforce faster. It will be 50% theory, 50% application. And as you can see here, we have a good employment rate and a really high employer satisfaction rate, which really helps when students are looking for jobs in the future. If an employer hired another NATE grad, they know the quality of our graduates, they will likely hire you again. Okay, so that's the kind of education that we offer here. Oops. So with applied research, as I mentioned, you know, we teach mostly with that, right? And our instructors have multiple years of industry experience. It's actually part of like the qualifications to be an instructor at NATE is that you need to be working in the industry. So it's important for our students to hear exactly what it's like. So the computer engineer example, our instructors will say, if you want to do well in this industry, these are the things that you need to do. These, maybe you should get jobs in these areas. This is how you should be preparing for you before you graduate. These are the people you need to network with. They will tell you all these things. There'll be a lot of focus on your presentations, research skills, and your relevant job skills to make sure that you're ready when you graduate again. And we have a lot of work placement opportunities and networking opportunities. When I say work placement, what this means is what we call co-op. So during your time at school at NATE, there are some programs that offer what we call co-op, work placements, internships. So you will be working in a company for maybe about a couple of months. For some programs, it's even a full 8 months, almost a whole year. You'll be working in a company. So usually we don't give you the job at the company. We will give you a list of the different companies that are open to taking students, and you look for them yourself. You might have to send in your own resume and do your interviews, but we will prepare you for it. And then so while you finish this work opportunity, then you will be graded according to how you do. And so you get this hands-on experience of what it's like to actually work in the field. And so when you graduate, you know, likely if you do well, maybe the company will hire you again. Even if they don't, it looks really good on your resume, because when you're looking for jobs in Canada, Canadian work experience is highly, highly valued. So if you only have something from overseas, it doesn't really account to as much as if you have something in Canada. So having work placements can be very, very good for you. So it's something that I highly recommend students take up on if they are able to. This is very much what I mentioned just now about the industry partnerships, that the programs are developed with the industry input. And so we do support all the needs that are in Alberta and worldwide. And I'm just going to say one more brief note here too. For some of you who are thinking of immigration in the future, if you're thinking of using our provincial nominee program to apply for permanent residency, the Alberta Immigration Nominee Program basically nominates people who are fitted for our labor needs. And so as you can see here, NATE basically does that. So NATE is in the business of like helping our graduates fit our labor needs in Alberta. And so you'll be very much aligned as well for permanent residency in the future if you are thinking of staying. Okay. So very, very briefly, just quickly about NATE too. We were founded in 1962. We've been around for quite a long time. We're very, very well known in Alberta. And we are actually the second largest polytechnic in Canada. So we're really huge. We have more than 40,000 students with over 1,900 international students from over 88 countries currently enrolled. And we're the third largest post-secondary in Alberta after the University of Alberta and University of Calgary. In terms of areas of studies, we actually have over 120 different programs. These are just different categories of studies. These are not the actual program names. If you're interested in knowing the specific program names, I have more. I have a link to that later as well. But so these are the different areas. A lot of our students, you know, they would go into our business and management programs, but we also have places in engineering, construction, environmental sciences, computers, etc. For majority of our programs, we do require proof of English language proficiency. That requires IELTS of 6.5 overall band and academic, and at least a 5.0. So right now, Duolingo, a lot of people are using it as well. So you can, if you can score 115, we'll be able to admit you to most of our programs. If you're interested in health and life sciences, though, we do have higher language English proficiency. And those programs are actually a lot harder to get into because it's all about timing of when you apply. Applications all open October 1st. So it's been open for about 2 months now. And so usually for our health and life sciences programs, they might already be full because people apply for it as soon as it opens. But just still something to think about depending on which area you're interested in. On every single program page that we have at NATE, we include this information. So this is just a quick overview of a few selected programs, just to give you an idea. So if you were to go into our, let's use the business administration marketing program. This is a diploma program. It's a 2-year program. And the tuition cost for the entire first year will be $17,700. So this is for 1 year, which is 2 semesters, and you don't pay for the full year right off the bat. You actually pay per semester. So you're looking at paying about $9,000 per semester, like I said previously. And then you have your books and supplies on top of that. Books and supplies are also per year. So you're looking at about this much per year. But you can see that after you graduated, we actually survey our graduates about 1 year, well, actually less than that, about 9 months after they graduate to see how many of them get a job. And this is just to help us understand, the viability of our programs as well. And so for this program, 81% of the students got a job after 9 months, and they started at a median salary of 39,500 Canadian per year. So this is their starting salary. So just to give you an idea, the average salary in Edmonton, so this is for everybody, the average is at 60,000. So this is actually pretty good for starting, especially considering you only finished a 2-year schooling, and also it's a diploma. Okay, so you can see here that we have other programs that have higher employability and higher medium salaries. This one, I just like to quickly note why it has such a high median salary. The reason for that is our Bachelor of Technology is a program that it's kind of like a postgraduate program in some sense. That you actually need to finish and have either, you need to have a degree in technology of some sort, either IT or engineering or something like that. And actually this program is to help these technologists learn the skills to become a manager. So it's more about management skills. And so people who graduate from this program start off as a manager level. And so their median salary is a lot higher. Okay, basically this program came out of the need, learning that a lot of technologists don't know how to lead other people. They become supervisors and they don't know how to lead. So this is to teach them all these management skills, like things like budgeting, things like conflict resolutions and stuff like that, even as a technologist. So you do need to already have a background in technology. So these are just some examples of some of our programs. And you can actually look into our program page to see what the employment rate is and the starting salaries are, and see if that matches your interest. I have one program that I quickly want to mention is our Business Administration Provincial Admission Program. So basically, this is our business administration program, but we have what we call provisional admission. So it gives you admission into our business diploma with a lower English language proficiency. So instead of a 6.5 IELTS, you can get in with a 6.0 and 5.5. And then your Duolingo, you only need 100. So the nice thing with this program is that while you have a lower English language proficiency, you will still be able to start in your diploma. And you get to apply and get a regular study permit, which means you can likely work off campus. And you will need to take some ESL courses in your first year. So because your level of English proficiency is lower, we will require you to take your level 6 NATE level 6 ESL course within the first year. The recommended time is to actually do it in your first semester and to do 3 courses, all 3 courses of your level 6 courses in your first semester. And then you have that and you are ready to go after that. But the nice thing, again, is you do get a regular study permit. So that helps you when you're applying for jobs and stuff like that too, looking for jobs off campus. Just also very quickly about our ESL program. We do have 6 levels of ESL. We offer the first 3 levels as beginner, high beginner, meaning you need to at least know your ABCs. I'm sure you guys are fine if you're listening to me right now. And then high immediate levels of 4, 5, 6, which is kind of like what we call EAP. So it's basically to prepare you for academic learning. So just regular English is a little bit different from preparing for academic English because you're going to be either writing a lot more reports. You need to have a good grasp of English when you're doing that. I always tell students too that, studying English is a really good investment for your future. Because if you have good English, it takes you so many places, especially if you are in Canada, right? If you're going to be looking for a job in the future, they will likely hire you more than somebody else whose English is not as good. If your English is better too, they will likely give you more. So if you're being considered for a promotion and your English skills, your writing skills, you constantly are, making errors and mistakes, they might think twice about giving you a promotion. So, you want to make sure your foundation in English is really good so that when you're looking for other prospects in the future, it also opens up more doors for you. So at NATE, we do have semesters starting every, ESL starting every semester. So we have the 3 semesters. You can start in September, you can start in January, and you can start in May. And each semester is about 15 weeks. So each level is about 15 weeks. Your classes will be a little bit smaller, about 15 to 20 students, and we are focused on a lot of applied learning. Okay, the cost right now is about $4,631 per semester. So depending on which level you are placed in, so you have to write a placement test and say you are placed in level 5, then you have to do level 5 and level 6 to get to qualify to NATE. If you get placed into level 4, then 4, 5, 6. So if you get placed in level 4, you're expecting about 1 year of studies in English before you start your program. But once you finish level 6, you can apply to majority of our programs, okay? So this is what most of our program pages will look like. You'll see that you can click around and there are different start dates for each program. You can click to see what you will learn and even the contact for the program if you want to contact our program specifically. Here you can see whether it's a diploma program, how long the program is, and whether they accept international students. And I highly recommend students to kind of go through the program pages to read out more about it. Most of our programs will be eligible for what we call post-graduation work permit, which allows you to stay in Canada after to work. So if your program length is only 1 year, you only get 1 year. So I always suggest to international students to do at least 2 years or more, and you will get a post-graduation work permit of up to 3 years. So with 3 years, if you're ever interested in applying for permanent residency, 3 years is a really good time for you because you need to wait to apply for permanent residency. So usually how it works is that you graduate and then you'll be looking for a job. Say you expect about, 6 months to find a job. And then after you get a job, then you will actually need to work for another 6 months before you can even apply to what we call nomination. So you either apply to be nominated by the province or if you want to be nominated by the government, federal government, then you have to go through express entry, but that will take you at least a whole year before you can apply because you have to work for at least a year. So then that pushes all your timeline a little bit later. And even when you apply to be nominated, you got to wait to be nominated. So sometimes that takes longer too. So it's important that you have enough time in your post-graduation work permit so you don't have to, you get enough time for that. So this is actually not extendable. So after you finish your 1 year, for example, you can't extend it. And you also cannot go back and apply for it again. So you can't finish your work permit and then go back to school and then get another post-grad work permit. You can only get it once. So it's important that you do this well, okay? In terms of NATE deadlines here, so generally speaking, for most of our programs, when you apply and you get an offer, you get 1 month from the offer to decide whether you want to accept it. And if you do accept it, the deposit is $1,000. And that's it. You don't have to pay anything after that until about 2 weeks before your classes start. So that's when your semester tuition is due. So like I said, if your tuition is about $9,000, then you minus the deposit. So that's $8,000. That would be due about a few weeks before your start of the semester. So after you pay your $1,000 deposit, you actually get a letter of acceptance, which you use to apply for your study permit. You don't have to pay everything all up front. Some students are worried they have to pay for the whole year. You don't have to do anything like that. So every semester, that is when you pay. For January, then you pay in December, and then for spring, you pay in April. Okay, so you split this up into each semester. If any of you are interested in applying to NATE, we do have what we call an application event promotion, where we are able to process your application within 14 business days instead of our usual application processing times. So you can find out if you're qualified, basically, before paying the application and assessment fee. So the application fee is $115. The assessment fee is $75. And so you still have to pay if you're qualified and you do decide that you want to make the payment. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. But at least you will know whether you're qualified. But you need to also meet our English language proficiency before we can do this for you. Okay, so I will send you an email after this if you're interested. But I suggest that you look around to see what the programs that we have first are, and then we can always have a further conversation after that. You can also contact us, basically me too, at international@NATE.ca. It doesn't have to be with your documents, but if you want to do this, that's when your deadline will be. But if you just want to know more or you want to discuss further, feel free to contact me at this email, and we can always have a further discussion. And so what's next here, if you want to check out our Apply Alberta website, this is basically at NATE to see, what are the different things that you need to do to apply. If you are still just kind of thinking you're not sure what you want to study, here are the different ways you can explore, right? So very open. We have a quiz that's really fun, a bit like a personality quiz. You fill out things that you like, and then it gives you a few programs that you might be interested in. Then you can check out those programs. You can go to, we have virtual campus tour. You can check out our campus this way. We have program previews. They're upcoming next year between January, February, and March. So you can check out a few programs there too. And lastly, connect with us, right? Email me. You can check out our Facebook page or Instagram page just to get a sense of the campus life. So here, yeah, basically those are next steps. So that's everything I have for today. I know it's a bit long, but thank you so much for coming. And I'll be happy to answer any questions right now. So I'm going to take a quick look to see if there's anything I'm missing here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of go through some of these questions and see if I'm answering some of them. So I'm not too sure when Sema said, what do you mean by qualified? I think I'll need a little bit more explanation. So if you want to write a little bit more, and then I can answer that after as well. Do you offer online programs? Yes, majority of our programs right now, due to COVID, is offered online. And so basically, unless there are labs, then they will be done online. So if it's business, for example, it's completely done online. And we have differences between what we call synchronous and asynchronous programs. So synchronous means it's actually happening live during Edmonton hours. So even if they're online, you might need to wake up at weird times in Turkey to study that. So that can be a bit difficult for you. So you want to look at the programs that are asynchronous, which is you can just study online anytime. But we also have programs, like I said, because we focus on hands-on learning. We do need our students to come into the labs. So there are programs that are actually what we call blended. So you have to do a majority of the lectures online, but then you also have to come into labs for maybe a week or two, and then you do a lot of labs. Okay. So the next one here, I want to study at any Canadian university for graduate education. What are the scholarship opportunities? Is it sufficient to have a high GPA to obtain a scholarship? Thank you for your presentation. Thank you. So again, for graduate studies, Nate, because we're a polytechnic, we don't have what we call graduate studies, which is basically your master's program or your PhD programs. If you are interested in those, usually it'll be a university that will have that. In terms of our scholarships though at NATE, we have scholarships available for international students in their second year of studies. So in your first year, we don't actually have entrance scholarships for international students, but in your second year, we will have that for you. So each school will have multiple international student-specific scholarships too. So there are a lot that you'll be eligible for, but it will have to be in your second year of studies. Okay, do you have dorms on the campus? Good question. I should have addressed that earlier. We actually don't have any dormitories or housing, but we have partnerships with the University of Alberta and McEwen University, which is also in Edmonton. They're about 10 minutes to about 30 minutes train ride away, which is actually not that far if you consider Edmonton. So if you want, you can also stay on their campus dormitories and then train to our school. That's another possibility. The last year bioengineering student, is there any graduate program suitable for my study area? So we don't have specifically a graduate program, as I was mentioning before, but we do have programs in biomedical engineering. So we have something like that, but it's a diploma program. Again, just to mention, like even in Canada, even if you graduate from a diploma, it can still get you a job quite easily. So if depends on what your end goal is in Canada, maybe a diploma can still be something that will match your needs. Okay. Is there any change about start dates and application deadlines? So we have not changed any of those. Our start dates are still the same, starting in September, January, and April. Oh, sorry, I keep saying April, and May. Application deadlines, actually, we don't have application deadlines. The deadline will be when school starts, but the deadline is more of a soft deadline for you to understand internally, because if our program starts in September and you are applying in June, you will need to wait for time for the processing, right? You have to wait for us to get everything in place. You might have to wait up to a month to 2 months to get a letter of acceptance. And then after that, you will need to apply for your study permit. And so if the study permit processing in Turkey is way longer than that, you might not be able to start in September. So that's something that you want to work backwards towards. I always at least give it about, I would say 2 months is probably a good estimate to make sure that you have enough time for your letter of acceptance, just in case things goes back and forth, you know, you're missing something, you have to send stuff back, etc. Yeah, so that's the deadline, same thing here. If again, if you're applying for September next year, I would suggest that you apply as soon as you can. I did mention previously about our application event. If you're able to collect your documents for me by January 19th, then I can get you your letter of acceptance faster than before, when I said that you have to wait about 2 months. So this will be faster if you did that. That is one of our event promotions to help students get their LOAs a little bit quicker that way. So what about scholarships? Yeah, so I mentioned that again, scholarships are available in your second year. Okay. Do you have a work permit while studying after graduation? So yeah, you can work while you're studying. You don't need a work permit while you're studying. Your study permit includes a clause that says that you can work. After graduation, you apply for what you call post-graduation work permit. So you will qualify. Majority of our programs will qualify for a post-graduation work permit. Do you have ESL programs? Yes, we have one. And I mentioned that just now as well. So if you want to know more about ESL, it will be at www.nate/ESL, basically. Do you have any Turkish faculty members? I don't know any at the top of my head. NATE actually has about 2,000 employees, and so I don't know all of them. I wouldn't be surprised if we had some, but I don't know for sure. So sorry, I can't answer that. How many Turkish students do you have in total? So this I can answer. It's not a large number. I actually only have about 5 Turkish students, so it's a small number. And the main reason for that is we haven't really gone to Turkey in many years. And so we haven't been very active in Turkey previously. So I do hope that, you know, some of you guys, perhaps you'll join us next year. Do you only have online undergraduate and graduate degree programs? So for each program, if you want to know how it's being offered, you can actually check out the program pages. So on the program page here, you can see the delivery options. If it says online day, online week, evening, weekend, then you'll see that it will be available online. Okay. Can you please inform minimum GPA requirement for engineering programs? So majority of our programs in terms of GPA, we actually don't look at GPA as much as we look at the actual score of each subject. And we actually look at the high school subjects. So for example, if you're going into computer engineering, we will be looking into your high school grade 12 English, high school grade 12 math, and high school grade 12 probably a physics or chemistry of some sort. And there'll be different subjects required for every program. So the GPA there is dependent on each program. So it's all a little bit different. So it's actually, you can look on the program page, and on the program page, and I don't have it scroll down, but there will be a little tab at the bottom here where you can see how to apply, and you can see the actual requirement for each program. Do you have postgraduate teaching positions? That I'm not entirely sure. Again, because we're not a university, so we don't have any of those things. Is tuition free for Canadian students? It's not free. Canadian students have to pay as well. It's just a different fee from international, but they actually still have to pay. Yeah, so here is the GPA amount again. So it depends on which program you're applying to, but likely if your GPA is this 3 point something, you're probably okay. And then the student wants to do electrical and computer engineering and masters. Okay. So the only way you can be exempted from IELTS is if you study in one of our countries that are exempted from IELTS. So Turkey isn't. So even if you study in a full English language school that taught in English, you will not be exempted. I would suggest perhaps if you can do Duolingo, it's a cheaper test, it's a quicker test. It might be able to get you, what you need a lot faster. I think a lot of schools might still require that. Do I have a program for veterinary medicine that you can recommend? So we have two programs that are for animal health. One of them is basically the animal health technology. So basically this will be for, they're basically like if you have a vet and then the vet has to do like MRI exams, they have to do all these testings for the animal, you will be helping them out with that. So you're kind of like a technologist that helps the vet out, kind of like a nurse for the vet. So that's the program that we have. And the other one that we have is more like a receptionist position for animal hospitals. And both of them actually do require that you have a little bit of experience working in the field already before you can get into the program. But we can talk offline if you're interested in knowing more. And the last question here is, how is the coronavirus pandemic situation in Alberta and Canada? Currently, I would have to say it's not the best. So we actually had to have stricter restrictions that was just implemented yesterday. We have to have even stricter lockdown recently because our numbers have been climbing quite a lot for the past week or so. It's been about 1,800, I believe, every new cases for the past couple of days. And so we're getting quite worried. So we're hoping that, these measures will help lower these numbers again. And so I think the restrictions are up till next January, about January 12th. So after that, we'll have to see how the numbers go again. But prior to that, we were doing quite good. And then I guess people got a little bit tired of COVID. So then the numbers started spiking. So yeah, unfortunately, hopefully it does get better. I really hope so. Okay. So 3 more questions here. Do I have software engineering program and what is the cost? Yes, we have a computer. So we have 2 different kinds of software engineering programs. One of them is the computer engineering technology program that I mentioned. And the other one is our digital media IT. But then the concentration is in, I think, basically software development. So for both programs, they're approximately, they're always a little bit slightly different because of the exact cost. But it's generally, I would say, about 20,000 per year. So it will be about 40,000 for the whole program, just as an estimate. And again, we can discuss further if you want to know the specifics, but that's in general. Do I have a representative in Turkey? We actually do have one agent in Turkey. Our agent is called Canada Culture. Yeah, Canada Culture. And we just signed them on recently too, but they are around. They're located in Turkey. And then Turkish restaurants in Edmonton, yes, that for sure I know. So I hope I answered most of the questions. I don't know if there were any other ones.
Yes, I think you covered all.
Thank you for being so engaging. Thank you, everybody here.
Eden, is it possible to share also contact details in the chat box so they can reach you for the further questions?
Yes. Yeah, so if anybody wants to reach me, again, my email is here, international@nate.ca. Just reach out and I check that mailbox basically. So if you guys have questions, and I will also reach out to all of you after as well with details about this event promotion. And if you have questions, feel free to contact me.
Is it possible to post it in the chat box so they can copy from there?
Yeah, yes, great. Thank you for reminding me. So email is see.
Yes, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Also, thank you very much for your great presentation and all information you provided was very detailed and very informative. Thank you very much again for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Is there anything you would like to add before we say goodbye?
No, that's it. Thank you for being so attentive and for listening for so long.
Thank you very much. So,
Okay.
yes, have a good day.
Yes, have a great night. See you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.